Welcome to the Repore Review Podcast, your space for education, conversation, growth, and change. Sandy and Chip, with every brief episode, will take a moment to slow down, reflect, and explore counseling, its challenges, and victories that shape daily lives. Whether you're a therapist, a client, or simply someone on a journey of personal development, you're in the right place. Let's dive in, learn together, and keep moving forward. This is the Repore Review Podcast.
North Carolina is grappling with an incredibly urgent public health crisis.
It really is.
I mean, you look at any major area, Charlotte, Raleigh, Asheville, and you just see the profound daily fallout from the opioid epidemic. Fentanyl is dominating everything right now.
And because of that, the demand for qualified professionals, people who can actually guide someone through recovery, it's just skyrocketed.
But this isn't a field you can just walk into.
No, absolutely not. It's an issue of public safety, really,
Yeah.
and clinical necessity. When the stakes are literally life and death, as they are with fentanyl, the state just cannot afford anything less than the most rigorous standards for its counselors.
And that is exactly what we're focusing on in this deep dive, the incredibly demanding multi-year pipeline to becoming a certified substance use disorder or SUD professional here in North Carolina.
Right.
We're going to dissect the massive time and training investment that's required before anyone can even treat a client.
And our mission here is really to show you the difference between, say, a supervised counselor and a fully independent specialist. And maybe more importantly, to explain why the training takes so long.
It's a huge amount of time.
It is. We're talking about a path that can demand 6,000 supervised hours just for the first level of certification. The overall registration can stretch up to a decade.
So who's the gatekeeper for all of this?
It's all governed by the North Carolina Addiction Specialist Professional Practice Board, the NCASP-POBI.
The NCASP-PB. Okay, and they're not just operating in a vacuum.
Not at all. They affiliate with the International Certification and Reciprocity Consortium, the ICNRC.
And that ICNRC affiliation, that's really the bedrock, isn't it? It standardizes everything.
It absolutely is. It gives professionals mobility. It means those 6,000 hours you earn in the mountains of North Carolina, they aren't wasted if you move to another member state like Florida or Colorado.
It creates a standard of care across state lines.
Exactly. And that standardization, it all starts with what they call the 12 core functions.
The blueprint.
The blueprint for everything. It's the state's way of ensuring that when a professional handles a crisis, they have a standardized ethical playbook.
Okay, let's look at that playbook then. The first few seem to be about client engagement.
Right. The first three are screening, intake, and orientation.
Screening, intake, orientation. Got it. Then the real clinical work starts.
Yes. That's when you move into assessment, creating a personalized treatment plan, and then, of course, the ongoing counseling itself.
And after that, it's more about logistics and support.
You've got it. Case management, crisis intervention when it's needed, and client education.
And finally, the accountability part.
The administrative and professional duties. So, report and record keeping, consultation with other pros, and referral to outside services. Mastering those 12 is the job.
That really sets the stage. So the whole path, it's really defined by two major milestones. Let's draw a clear map here. What's the difference between that entry-level counselor and the independent specialist?
The entry point for everyone is the Certified Alcohol and Drug Counselor, the CDC.
CADC.
And that's equivalent to the ICNRC's ADC credential.
What's really surprising, looking at the source material, is the educational requirement to start. It's just a high school diploma.
It is.
I mean, a high school diploma to start dealing with the life or death realities of a fentanyl crisis?
Yeah.
That sounds like a terrifying risk. How does the state justify that?
That's the crucial insight. The state balances that low educational barrier with an incredibly high supervisory requirement. A CADC has to work under supervision. Always. They can never practice independently.
So it's a monitored apprenticeship, basically.
A highly monitored apprenticeship system.
Oh,
Exactly.
oh, oh.
The entry point is low, but the clinical safety net is massive.
Okay, so if you want to move beyond that supervised role, you have to become the independent specialist.
Right. And that's the licensed clinical addiction specialist, the LCAS.
The highest level.
The highest level, equivalent to the ICNRC's AADC. This is a goal for true independence.
And for the LCAS, there are no shortcuts. I see it here. A master's degree with a clinical internship is mandatory. 0 exceptions.
It's non-negotiable. The LCAS is the professional who can handle co-occurring mental health disorders. which are, extremely common.
And they can supervise others.
Right. They provide all 12 core functions on their own, and most importantly, supervise the next generation of counselors.
And who exactly is doing all this intensive oversight in the beginning?
That's the critical role of the Certified Clinical Supervisor, or CCS, or their apprentice, the Clinical Supervisor Intern, the CSI.
So a CCS or a CSI?
Correct. When you begin, all your initial practical experience, those first crucial hours, they have to be under the direct guidance of a certified CCS or CSI. They are the initial gatekeepers.
That context is so important. Okay, let's talk about the clock. The sheer amount of time you have to invest. Let's break down that journey to becoming a CADC.
So first, you just have to register with the NCASPPB. That's just to start the clock on your hours.
And that involves
What
documentation?
Yep. Your degree, that supervision agreement we mentioned, agreeing to the Code of Ethics, and you have to do 3 hours of clinical ethics training right away.
And there's a serious background check from the start.
Oh, yeah. SBI and FBI. And you absolutely cannot be registered if you're currently serving any part of an active sentence, not even probation.
That's a high standard from day one.
It is, and that's when the 5-year countdown starts. Your registration is limited to 5 years, and you can only renew it once.
So 10 years total, maximum.
10 years. If you don't get fully licensed in that time, you could lose all your hours and have to reapply.
Wow, okay, I have to stop you there. 10 years. It sounds long, but that is a hard deadline. What if someone has a family emergency or a medical issue and has to take a couple years off?
They risk losing it all.
They just lose all that time and effort. That seems incredibly rigid.
It is rigid by design. The board wants active, engaged candidates. It definitely forces dedication, but, it certainly adds a lot of pressure to a person's life.
I'll say. Okay, so once you're registered, what's step 2?
You need to achieve CDC intern status. To do that, you have to complete 300 hours of a supervised practicum.
Which is about 2 months of full-time work.
Roughly, yes. And during this initial phase, the supervision ratio is incredibly intense. 1 hour of supervision for every 10 hours of practice.
A 1-to-10 ratio.
A 1-to-10 ratio.
Yeah.
Done by your CCS or CSI. That really confirms that supervision is the clinical safeguard for that low education entry point.
Absolutely.
After those 300 hours, you have to pass the ICNRC ADC examination. You pass that test, you become an intern, and you can keep working toward full certification.
Okay, so let's talk about that full certification. The experience pillar is staggering.
It is. A total of 6,000 supervised hours is required for the CADC.
6,000. That's about 3 years of full-time supervised work.
It is. And once you're an intern, the ratio eases a little bit to 1-to-40. So 1 hour of supervision for every 40 hours of practice. But it's still mandatory.
And on top of that massive experience requirement, there's the education pillar.
Right. 270 clock hours of approved training. And 190 of those have to be specific to substance use disorder. The state dictates the curriculum very, very specifically.
And the distribution of that is fascinating. It forces counselors to think about public health. You need, 6 hours of ethics, obviously.
Of course.
But also 6 hours on infectious diseases. HIV, AIDS, STDs, that's built right in.
That is so critical. It acknowledges that addiction is rarely just an isolated thing. There are often these co-occurring physical risks.
And it looks like you also need 6 hours on specialized topics, like psychopathology or specific populations like veterans.
Correct. It ensures a well-rounded education.
And let's just say it again, even after all of that, the 6,000 hours, the full certification at CADC still needs ongoing supervision from an LCAS.
Yes, though the ratio does decrease over time, but the accountability never, ever stops.
Which brings us back to the highest credential, the LCAS.
The goal for many, to move toward that independent practice.
And we said it before, but it's worth repeating. Advancing to LCAS means getting that master's degree and passing the advanced exam, the AADC. That is the only key to independent practice.
It is, but it's important for you to know there are other specialized roles people can pursue too, to tackle different parts of the crisis.
Right, like the Certified Prevention Specialist, the CPS.
The CPS is totally different. They're not doing one-on-one counseling. They're focused on prevention, education, community organizing, trying to work upstream.
And then there's the Certified Criminal Justice Addictions Professional, the CCJP.
They are so critical for working with people inside the criminal justice system, focusing on how addiction and criminal behavior intersect.
And finally, the ultimate mentorship role, the Certified Clinical Supervisor, the CCS.
Which requires you to first be an LCS, and then you specialize in training the next wave of professionals.
And that ICNRC reciprocity we mentioned? That applies to most of these, right? If you're a CADC or LCAS in North Carolina, you can generally transfer your credential.
Generally, yes. For CADC, LCAS, CPS, and CCJP, it's a huge professional advantage.
But the exception is the CCS, the supervisor credential.
That's right. If you move, you might have to complete more requirements to supervise in a new state. It suggests supervision standards are seen as the most state-specific part of this.
That makes sense. Okay, let's pivot to the ethical and economic realities. The ethical foundation here is incredibly high.
It has to be.
Yeah.
We're dealing with such a vulnerable population. The focus is always on client welfare, respect, dignity, trauma-informed care.
But what are the practical challenges of those ethics, especially in, say, a small rural town in NC?
The need for clear professional boundaries is massive. The code explicitly prohibits any romantic, sexual, or social involvement with clients, their family, or their friends, online or in person.
And that must be a daily challenge.
It is, but it's essential to preserve that therapeutic trust.
And they also have to manage that legal tightrope of confidentiality.
Yes. They have to provide detailed informed consent, explain the limits of confidentiality, mandatory reporting laws, the duty to warn. You're not just a counselor, you're an agent of public safety.
And competence is an act of duty, right? They have to make sure their services are evidence-based and within their scope.
And they have to actively seek supervision if they recognize their own personal issues might be getting in the way. It's a relentless ethical bar, but it justifies the strong job outlook.
Okay, let's talk money. The job outlook in North Carolina is very strong, a 12% increase in jobs from 2019 to 2023.
It is, but the salary context is really important. The median salary for SUD counselors in North Carolina is around $56,470.
Which is a little below the national median of about $59,000.
Exactly. You have to weigh that against the immense time and educational investment required.
And location is everything. The highest-paying metro areas in 2023 were Raleigh-Cary and Durham-Chapel Hill.
Right, both averaging around $62,000. So those major metro areas, they offer a necessary premium over the more rural parts of the state.
And that master's degree for the LCAS, that's where the investment really pays off.
It really does. LCAS professionals, the ones who have completed that 5 to 7 year journey, they earn significantly more, often in the 75th to 90th percentiles.
We're talking $63,000 to over $83,000 a year.
Exactly. It absolutely underscores the long-term return on that master's degree.
This deep dive really emphasizes that the path in North Carolina is built not on speed, but on this foundational long-term mentorship and safety.
It's a deliberately long and structured process. It's designed to prepare professionals for the sheer complexity of the addiction crisis and ensure safety is paramount from hour one.
And if you connect that back to the state's urgent need to manage the fentanyl fallout, the rigor, it makes complete sense.
Precisely. We started by talking about that low educational barrier, but the sheer volume of mandated supervised experience, up to 6,000 hours for the TACI alone, that is the real clinical story here.
It is.
So I want you, the listener, to consider what that extensive multi-year supervision truly signifies about the level of clinical responsibility these counselors carry and how that mandated reliance on mentorship fundamentally shapes the quality of care delivered across North Carolina. Does that intense model make this one of the safest paths for a client entering recovery? That's the question the State Board is answering every single day. Thank you for joining today's Repore Review. If this episode connected with you, inspired you, or gave you something meaningful to reflect on, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it too. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and take good care of yourself. This is Antonio, signing off from the Repore Review podcast.